CN. The Scientology mission in my middle-sized city used to be located in an area that is quickly gentrifying. It has since moved to a not-so-pleasant area of town. I also noticed that their hours changed from the regular 9 to 5 times to only being open in the evenings for a few hours 4 times a week. Is this becoming a common occurrence at mission locations around the country or world? Who decides on mission locations and times? The people that run that individual location or the entire organization? Okay, Scientology missions are the lowest level service organizations that exist within the world of Scientology's hierarchy of organizations. I put together a video about this, explaining it all, called Scientology's Organizational Madness, and it shows the whole chart of organizations and structures. So missions are independently owned. They used to be called franchises. An individual Scientologist buys the right from the church to use the trademarks and service marks of Dianetics and Scientology to deliver low-level services and auditing services up to the level of clear. The training services they can offer are basic-level services, not advanced auditor training classes, but basic services, what we call the Scientology life improvement courses and low-level, academy-level major services. So missions are basically supposed to be Scientology's spearhead into society, and Hubbard had the idea that they would be selling tons of books, getting lots and lots of Scientology out into the community, into the area, doing community events, stuff like that, and bringing people in and giving them the basic Scientology stuff, doing some auditing, and then sending them up to the local Class 5 organization, which is the city-level churches that we talk about so often, the orgs, so to speak, the organizations. So every organization is supposed to have 10 or more missions around it, acting as feeder lines. But this has never really been something that has successfully been implemented in any org-mission relationship that I've ever seen in all the years of Scientology. Missions would generally tend to hold on to people for as long as they could, to milk them for as much money as they could, and then send them on straight to a Sea Org upper-level church like the ones in LA or in Clearwater and get big commissions from those Sea Org churches, instead just bypass the city-level orgs. So the missions and the orgs tended to be more in competition than they tended to work together. Now, with Scientology's PR value being negative and mission holders having such a hard time getting any Scientologists to staff their little missions and then do the work necessary, because it's a lot of hard work to get something propagated that way. You got to be out there in people's faces, selling books, giving out tickets to movies, and doing seminars and workshops and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's a lot of, if you really want to do it, it can be done. Even despite the negative PR, there could be successful missions out there, but they got to get over that hump, and none of them really are able to do that because Hubbard's policies are crap. They don't get really hardly any backup from the church management or international Scientology. Missions are very much fend for yourself kind of activities. And this is why the hours can be so random. They're set by the mission holder who bought the rights to deliver the services. He's not under any particular obligation to international Scientology as to what hours he's going to be open, where he needs to be located. As long as it presents a decent positive image of Scientology, they don't really care. But they obviously would want the missions open all the times, but they can't order them around the same way they can with the orgs. It's a bit of a different management relationship. Missions are more in the realm of getting advice from management on a weekly basis rather than the kind of orders that come down to the orgs. Missions generally are generally left alone for the most part, and they pay a certain percentage of their income every week goes up as a tithing or something. And that's kind of how that's the exchange that Scientology International gets from these missions. But they tend to be small, struggling operations with 1 or 2 or 3 staff maybe, just volunteering really because they're not really making any money. And they don't get past that. They don't ever get, above that hump point. So that's why you see missions closing all the time. Hardly any of them even open anymore. It's really hardly a thing. And this has been one of the biggest reasons, and this goes all the way back to the 80s and this huge debacle where Hubbard and David Miscavige and International Scientology, Sea Org management really, really did a number and came down hard on what were very successful missions that were operating through the 1970s and early 80s. And they just took them apart and raided them and took all their money out of their bank accounts. I mean, it was just a flat out purge, and they just took all the money and ran. So that destroyed most of the successful missions back then, and they have never recovered a successful mission network ever since. And David Miscavige seems completely uninterested in anything having to do with that topic.